17 years ago, at exactly this time, Pakistani intruders were being thrown out of India by the Indian Army. Among those who were involved in some of the Indian Air Force's missions were two young women. They were the first Indian women in combat, an inspiration to a new generation who can even become women fighter pilots in the IAF today if they chase their dreams. You would have seen stories about these women, the first batch of women fighter pilots commissioned into the Indian Air Force. But did you know that 17 years ago, at the height of the Kargil War, two young flight lieutenants of the IAF, both women, were flying into the war zone in tiny cheetah helicopters. Flight Lieutenant Gunjan Saxena and Srividya Rajan flew more than 80 sorties during Kargil. Among their responsibilities, flying above Pak posts to provide targeting information to our artillery gunners and fighter pilots. This is what Gunjan told us when we met her during the Kargil conflict.
This was a very new thing for the Air Force to see women pilots working with them and flying with them every day. So that they always, there was always this, they used to look up to us that, whether we will be able to cope up with the conditions and the stresses that you have to face.
Now 17 years later, Gunjan is a homemaker, married to an IAF helicopter pilot. Back in '99, she was a short service commission officer and didn't have the option that women in the IAF now have to serve as permanently commissioned officers. She remembers how she flew deep into the Kargil war zone and rescued Indian Jawans while facing the constant threat of enemy missiles and bullets.
That is the ultimate feeling that you can ever have, as a helicopter pilot. That was our main role there, casualty evacuation. Other than recce sorties, it was the main role. So I guess that is the most, I would say, a very satisfying feeling when you save a life, because that is what you are there for.
Flight Lieutenant Gunjan Saxena and Srividya Rajan are real pioneers in the history of the Indian Air Force, the first women to pave the way for an entirely new generation of women combat aviators. Vishnu Shom for NDTV.